Episode number 81 from Dallas, Texas. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton, and thank you for tuning in. If you are new to the show, welcome. 11 months out of the year, this is a poker podcast, and you've kind of hit it right at the tail end of the last month. So if you're looking for some poker content, go back, listen to some of our past episodes. We've had Greg Raymer, Jonathan Little, Jennifer Herman, Alex Fitzgerald. Great content as far as you can look up. We've had cash and tournament strategy and even some heads-up strategy. So you can go back and listen to those. If not, then if you want to hear me rant and rave about the TSA and my travels over the last week, then you've tuned into the right podcast. So, let's see, where did we leave off? Last time we were at the apartment in San Andres. I had just rented it. And I was there with the family for about a week. I finally just got home. I've been bouncing around airports for the last 36 hours, but we're at my wife's apartment in Texas right now. So, let's see, the family was about to show up when we last left off. Let's see, what did we do? We went snorkeling. I think we went snorkeling every single day. The snorkeling out on that island is just amazing. It's this small little island. When you look at it from the air, from the plane, it's tiny. You can drive around the whole thing in a golf cart in a few hours, which we did. We rented a golf cart, and we drove it around the island, and that was kind of an interesting story. We started with being a gringo, being a white guy, in a Colombian city. As soon as you go to, how can I put this? Everything's negotiable when it comes to price. So if you go into a store, you want to ask how much the beer is before you buy it, because if you just walk up to the register, then if it's normally 2,500 pesos and they see a gringo, well, then they'll charge 3,000, which is only an extra, 20 cents or something like that. But over the course of a month-long vacation, that can add up to quite a bit. So the same goes for renting a car, renting a motorcycle, or renting a golf cart to go around the island. If I go up and rent the golf cart, they'll probably charge me 150,000 pesos, which is about $50. Whereas if my wife and my nephew go up and they speak perfect fluent Spanish and they're from Colombia, they can probably get it for 100,000. So that's what we did. My wife and my nephew went down. They found a golf cart, rented it, and we started driving around the island. And once we got kind of out of the city part of it, and we hit a little bit more of an open lane, I opened it up and I wanted to see what this golf cart had. And as soon as I put the pedal to the floor, all of a sudden it lurched to one side, and it was one of those. It was so unexpected. I kind of overcorrected. And overcorrected to the left and then overcorrected to the right, and no matter how quick you can get on the brake, I damn near flipped this thing. And with my family inside of it, I thought, what the hell is going on here? So we pull it over to the side of the road, and I grab the front two tires, and I can shake them. They're moving about, 2 inches. You're just, you grab the front and the back of the tire, and it's just wobbling. And I'm like, what the hell? And I kind of get under the thing, and I look. And the tie rods, if you know how front end suspension works, the tie rods on these things are just shot. It's basically like if you can picture a ball joint and then this cap that goes into it. There should be a fair amount of rubber and grommets in there that keeps it fairly stable. And this had none of that. It was just like metal on metal and just wobbling around. I thought, oh man. And I thought, okay, well, if we turn around and take it back, we're going to be wasting probably half the day trying to get back through town because it's all one-way streets, and it's easier to just keep going around the island. So I had to keep it somewhere between half and quarter throttle the entire time. We're doing about maybe 7 miles an hour around this island. But it was pretty cool. We went down, there's some really cool snorkeling spots. They even had this toboggan, water slide going into the water. They had a diving board that was probably up 12 or 15 feet, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So we hit that up, and then we hit up Henry Morgan's cave, Captain Henry Morgan. We got to see where he buried his treasure. Actually, first I'm going to tease that though, and I'm going to talk about Tournament Poker Edge. So if you are a tournament player, aside from having a coach, I would say that having a study group or a forum or a training site that specifies on tournaments, if that's what you really want to learn. If you want to learn cash games, you need to go somewhere else. But if you really want to learn tournament poker, then Tournament Poker Edge is by far the best training site to do it. They have Andrew Brokus, Mark Alioto, who is my coach, Casey Jarzabek, Carlos Welch. If you're going to be at the WSOP, go to the booth. They have a booth there. You can check it out. Click on the link in the show notes or go to HeadsUpPoker.Poker under the Support Us tab and sign up for TPE today. So, Captain Henry Morgan's cave. This was kind of interesting. They had a little stop along the route when we were in the golf cart that it was you can go and see Captain Henry Morgan's cave where he buried his treasure. So you go up to the front gate, and it's I think it was 15,000 per person to get in. So I'm saying 15,000 pesos, which probably means nothing to you, but basically what you do is you divide it by 3,000, and that gives you about the dollar amount. So 15,000 pesos is about $5 American. So for the four of us to get in, it was $20, and it was kind of interesting because you go in there and they have all this tourist stuff set up. They built a replica of a pirate boat, and they have these dances that they put on and stuff. And some of the things they said about Henry Morgan was they said he had 150 children, and actually two of his descendants were there, and they were dancing. And I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. How do they know that they're actually descendants when it's been 350, almost 400 years, and yeah, right, 150 children. That's pretty impressive. And they also said that there was buried treasure in this cave. So you kind of go down into this cave, and I guess you can kind of see why they'd say that. I mean, it's this old ancient cave, and it's got it's a little bit below sea level, so the natural groundwater level is up. And I was asking one of the locals, and I said, how deep does this go? How far back does it go? And he said it goes back about 50 meters, which is 50 yards, half a football field. And he said it's 25 meters deep, which is a quarter of a football field deep. So this thing's pretty deep. And I said, well, how much treasure have you guys found? And he said, well, we haven't looked for any treasure. I said, well, you haven't looked? Why haven't you looked? And he said, well, we kind of want to keep it a mystery. We were talking with the Colombian government, and we don't want to, we don't want to find any treasure, and we don't want to not find any treasure, so we want to just keep it a mystery. And I'm thinking to myself, in 45 minutes, I can go get a scuba gear and I can find and a flashlight, and I can find out right now whether there's any treasure in this thing. So I started to realize that I think what's happened is I was asking this guy, and I said, you're all a family that this is your property and you own this place and you've turned it into a business, right? And he said, yeah, pretty much. That's exactly it. I said, oh, okay, I get it now. And so I did a little research on Wikipedia. And I found out that Captain Henry Morgan, he married his uncle's daughter, which I guess basically would be his first cousin, Mary Elizabeth. And he remained faithful to her, but they were unable to have any children. So that was kind of interesting. We go from 150 children and two of his descendants we watched dance to all of a sudden now they never had any kids. And then the island that we were on was called San Andres, and there was another island called Providencia, which is pretty close to that. I mean, sailing back in those days, it probably would have taken him a day or so to get there from San Andres. So it's pretty close. It's a 15-minute plane ride. He did actually sack an island occupied by the Spanish, and that was Providencia, not San Andres. He was quite a successful pirate. By today's standards, he would have stolen 14. I think the internet said it was 14 or 15 million dollars in today's money. So had he buried this stuff in this cave, which I'm trying to think of, from his perspective, let's say 350 years ago, some of his treasure he stole. Why in God's name would you dump it into a cave that's 25 meters deep? I mean, without any scuba gear or any means of getting down there to get it. Maybe unless he attached a rope to it or something. I mean, like, I'm a very strong swimmer. And I can dive down with a snorkel, free dive. I can dive down about 10 meters, which is 30 feet, which I think is pretty decent for a regular guy, but 25, that's way too deep to dive without, unless you're just, I have heard of guys being able to do that free dive up to 30 meters, but there's some of the best in the world. So I just can't imagine that a pirate would dump his treasure down into this cave. I think digging a hole, or there's got to be a much better place to hide it than there. Interesting. But for an hour and a half of entertainment and for $20, I guess it was kind of a neat little tour. So after that, we went around the island. We did some other snorkeling. Oh, and something that's been interesting since I've been out of America and in Panama and Colombia is the Copa soccer tournament. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this or not. I'm probably, 75% of you are American right now that are listening, and the other 25% are from the other side of the world. So for the 25% of you that, soccer is the rules and it's it's pretty common. For Americans, it's not. So basically, the way soccer works is they play for 90 minutes. They play two 45-minute halves. And then at the end of the game, they can extend it. The referee, kind of depending on, if guys are doing a lot of flops, if, they're pretending like they're hurt when they're really not, to try to get the game over with, because the clock keeps running. It's not like basketball or football where they do a play and then boom, the clock stops. And it's not like that. It's just that you press a stopwatch and it starts and the clock keeps going until 90 minutes are up, and then the game's over. And so if there's a lot of, if guys are taking their time, getting off the field, doing substitutions, then the referee kind of keeps a mental note of, okay, we're going to extend this game by another 3 minutes, or we're going to extend this game by another 5 minutes. I think 5 minutes is the most I've ever seen. Maybe I've seen 7 before, but I don't think so. I think 5 is the most I've ever seen. But anyhow, 16 teams have been playing, and we've had America, Colombia, Chile, Argentina, Peru, Panama, 16 teams from North America and from South America. And the rules is that the players have to be from a citizen of the country that they're playing for. So, for example, guys can have dual citizenships, like a guy like Messi. He plays for Real Madrid, but he was born and raised in Argentina, and he's also an Argentinian citizen, so he's now playing for Argentina. And he's also playing for Real Madrid, but for this Copa North and South America tournament, he's playing on Argentina. And all the guys that are playing for their countries are citizens of there. So it's a pretty interesting tournament, I've never really been that into soccer, but when you're just completely immersed in it and everyone's watching it while you're on vacation, you kind of get into it, So the 16 teams that started, as of now, I'm recording Sunday morning, we're down to, kind of 4. America and Colombia just played last night for third place. Colombia won. So America got 4th. And then tonight, it's going to be Argentina and Chile. I haven't checked the lines yet. So I don't know who the favorite is. But watching these teams play all the way down to 2, Chile's really been kicking ass the last 2 games. They beat Colombia 4-0. And they spanked Mexico in San Francisco. They're playing all these tournaments at American football stadiums, like American football. They played in San Francisco, which has a big Mexican population up there, and they killed them 7-0. I mean, to To Mexico's credit, well, I don't even know if it's to their credit, but after the score was 3-0, they pretty much just gave up, and they were just kind of like walking on the field, just letting Chile just run over them. They ran it up to 7-0. It was pretty bad. At one point, I was starting to think, I don't know all the rules of soccer, but I was thinking to myself, like, there's got to be some kind of mercy rule or something. Are they really going to extend the time here? Are they really going to add like another 3 minutes to the 90? Are they just going to extend the pain? Or yeah, they are. So it got to 90 minutes. It was 7-0, and they added a couple of minutes on there. Just I was like, oh man, just end this. It's so sad. But one of the things that's been really interesting about this trip is to see the difference in cultures of how into soccer some of these countries get. Now, I only have the perspective of Panama and Colombia because I haven't been to any of the other countries during this tournament. But Panama, they were into it definitely more than America. I mean, anytime there was a game on, it was on at every bar that we went to, and guys were watching it. But I've never seen anything like I saw in Colombia. It was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. Every single bar had the game on, just like in Panama. But the difference was the number of people that were watching it. In other words, like everyone on this entire island was watching the soccer games, especially when Colombia was playing. When it was America and Argentina, there was a few people watching, but nothing like. I mean, okay, let me give you a mental picture here. We're standing in front of this liquor store, and it's got this little TV. I mean, it can't be more than like a 30-inch TV, and they got it in the window. And there's about 200 people standing around watching this little TV. Every move, anytime there's a corner kick, anytime that Colombia had an advantage, everyone was just cheering. They're doing air horns. They were. It was really impressive. And then for the liquor store, it worked out pretty well because everyone just went straight in there to buy beer, so they made a killing. Now, this was when it was just down to 8. I mean, we went from 16 teams down to 8, and Colombia was playing, and there's 200 people crowded around this small little TV. And when it got down to, I'm trying to remember who they were playing. I think it might have been Peru. It got down to, after 90 minutes, the score was still 0-0. But somebody has to advance, so they do what's called a shootout. And so they get, one guy from Colombia gets to go heads up with the goalie of the other team, and he tries to kick a goal. They put the ball in a very specific spot. The goalie's standing there, and the goalie tries to block it. Well, usually 4 out of 5 times, I mean, it's a big net, and the ball's pretty damn close, so usually they get it. So they have 5 chances to make a goal, and the other team also has 5 chances to make a goal, and if one team got 4 out of 4 and the other team got 4 out of 4, then they just keep going until one team pulls out ahead. Well, Colombia ended up winning. And all of a sudden, there was beer in the air. I mean, it was like, it looked kind of like when one of those NASCAR drivers wins a NASCAR race and he gets the bottle of champagne and he shakes it up and sprays. That's what they were doing with beer bottles. And then flour starts coming out. People are throwing flour into the air. They got bags of flour that they're just tossing everywhere, and people are starting to look like little marshmallow man. There was a guy right in front of me that, thank God he was there. He took a face full of flour. I'll never forget the outline. There's kind of like the light silhouette lighted around his head, and then all of a sudden, just this boom! Just some guy just threw a face full of flour right into this guy, and it just went right around me. I'm like, okay, I'm done. This is enough fun for me. I'm going back up to the apartment. That's when the fire extinguishers started coming out, the air horns, and beer bottles started flying. So it can get a little bit dangerous. Now, fast forward, and it's a few days later, and now we're down to 4. I'm there with my family. And it's about 7 o'clock, and we're like, you know what? Let's go down to the street. My mother-in-law, she bought my wife and I some Colombian soccer jerseys. We're like, let's go down to the street and watch it. So we go down to the street, And remember before how I was saying that there was 200 people huddled around this little TV. Well, now there's so many people huddled around the TVs that we're having to stand across the street and look at the TV in order to be able to see it. There's Everyone is out in the street. Everyone's going nuts, and they're so dramatic too. Like every time that the other team even gets possession of the ball, so they're just one team, the Colombia, will be dribbling the ball down to one side of the field, and then the other team, they were playing Chile. The other team will steal the ball from them and take it down to their side of the field, and the whole crowd will just be, no, no, covering their hands with their covering their face with their hands. It's pretty impressive to watch. So we watched the first half in the street, and then it started to rain a little bit, and so we ended up going inside. But the score at halftime was 2-0 Chile. And then they got a rainstorm in Chicago. They were playing this in the Chicago Bears Stadium, Soldier Field, up in Chicago. And if you know anything about Chicago, they can get some serious weather. So it started raining, and it was pouring. And guys were actually on the field with squeegees, basically like kind of rubber brooms, pushing the water off the field so that these guys could play the second half. Well, this delayed the start of the second half by about 2 hours. Normally they got a 15-minute break, just kind of like halftime in football. And normally they get a 15-minute break, and then they go right back to playing. Well, this was more like 2 hours. So you got people on the street for 2 hours just drinking and just getting hammered. There was flour everywhere. Most of their fire extinguishers had gone empty by now. People were just getting smashed. And for whatever reason, at that time, I thought it would be a good idea to go down to the street with my wife and walk around and see what we see. So we go down, and we can watch all this from the 7th floor of our apartment. But we go down to the street, and we're walking around, and people are just smashed. So we get out of the main crowd, and we kind of walk down, and we had a little romantic stroll down the beach, and then I saw on one of the TVs at the bars, it said that they were going to commence again at 10:25, and I look at my watch, and it's 10:15. I thought, okay, we better get back to the apartment before this thing starts. So we start walking back, and we're kind of getting down to the street where the big crowd is, the rowdy crowd, which is unfortunately right in front of our apartment. And all of a sudden, there's this horde of people that are running down the street, and they're running right at us. And we hightail it into this little fast food joint. It was kind of like a little McDonald's. We go inside there, and we're looking out on the street, and we see this guy, and he's got, it looked like a milk crate. It's like one of those crates that you put a bunch of beer bottles in and stuff for recycling. He had one of those, and I see him pick it up above his head. He looked like a gorilla, and he just threw it down at this guy that was that he had just hit and was laying in the street. He threw it down on him. The guy in the street kind of put his arms up, took it to the face, and he's trying to get up. The other guy picks up the crate again and throws it at him again. So I guess one of them didn't like the jersey that the other guy was wearing. So there was probably 10% of the crowd were cheering for Chile, and the other 90% for Colombia. Personally, I wouldn't be caught dead wearing any jersey other than Colombia in that town. But yeah, he paid the price for that. So the police came out. They chased him down the street. It was pretty impressive over a soccer game. But so now we're in the store, and there's just straight chaos out in the street. And I'm like, how do me and my wife get back to the apartment safe? So once they ran down the street, I'm like, okay, this is our break. We got to go for it now. So we go outside. I grab a empty beer bottle that I found off the street just in case, and we ended up making it back to the back up to the apartment pretty quick. Which this is kind of a side note, but little tip that I learned when I was doing Kempo. If you're ever in a situation where it looks like it's pretty inevitable that you're going to get in a fight, you always want to have something in your hand. And the reason is, and we drilled on this when I did martial arts, is you can throw it right at the person's face. You want to aim right in between their eyes. And whether it's an ashtray, a cup, even your phone, just something to distract them. It'll give you that extra like half a second to strike. And at that point, you can kick them in the knee and then go for it. But if you can have something in your hand that you can just kind of flick right at their face, they're going to blink. And we practice this. And even when you know it's coming, it's instinct. You can't help but put your hands up or move or blink your eyes, and that'll give you that extra little second that you need. So, little tip there. But Colombia ended up losing. They lost, I think it was 4-0. And then they played America last night, so Colombia got third. America got fourth. And tonight it's going to be Argentina and Chile. And I don't, I probably should have checked the lines just so I know. But I really think that it's going to be Argentina. I could be wrong, but I mean Chile hasn't had a goal scored on them in the last two games, and they've been playing pretty well. But Argentina, I think, I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to go with Argentina. I'm going to say they're going to take first. Chile's got second, but we'll see. So after that, we went back to flew back home. Flew back to Bogota. I flew from San Andres to Bogota, Colombia, the capital, and met all of my wife's family, her brother, sister-in-law. We all had dinner at Crepes and Waffles, and then the adventure of the TSA and the airport started. So I caught my flight at 9 in the morning. When was this? I think it was Friday. It's Sunday now. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so Friday morning I went to the airport. Flew to Bogota. I had to stick around the airport in Bogota from noon until midnight to catch our flight back to Dallas. Well, that didn't work out. We ended up, I was in the airport for, over 12 hours at that point, and we fly standby because my wife's a flight attendant. So basically what that means is after everyone has paid for a ticket, gets their ticket and gets their seat, if there's any left over, then we get to fly for free. So that's the good part. The bad part is there's not always seats that are left over. So the adventure started. We get there, and they actually oversold the flight. There was 122 people that had tickets, and there's only 120 seats. And so there's these two poor people in front of us that had bought and paid for a ticket, and they could not get on the plane. It was kind of sad. So we didn't feel as bad because we're flying for free on standby, but these poor guys, they actually paid for a ticket and they could not get on the plane. That would be really frustrating. So we spent the night in the airport. That was less than fun. I slept on my backpack that was full of books and pencils and stuff, so not the most comfortable pillow, but we made it work. We pulled a couple of chairs together, kind of made a bed out of it, and woke up at about 4:30 in the morning. Our next flight was at 7. So we go down, and we don't make that flight either. So then the next flight, I think, was at like 10:30, and we missed that one. And we finally caught one at, I think it was 4:30. We caught one, and we got back to Dallas last night, late at night. It was 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Just saw the last bit of the Colombia versus USA game, and then went straight to sleep. So but in this whole adventure, it's I've started to realize how fucked up the airport security system is. I mean, just going through customs and in the last month, I don't know how many TSA checks I've been through, but I don't think a dozen is an exaggeration. I think it's probably in that ballpark. And some of the things I've seen are so asinine. For example, I went through one of the TSA checks. You stand in a half-hour line, and then you got to take off your shoes and your watch and your belt buckle, and I get through, and my backpack is going through the X-ray machine, and it pulls a red flag, and so they say, "Is this your bag, sir?" "Yes, that's my bag," and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, what did I forget? My toenail clippers or something?" And they open it up, and she pulls out a bottle of water. Well, she pulls out a water bottle, and there's about 3/4 of an inch of water in the bottom of it. And I thought, oh my God, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And she says, yeah, this is it right here. This is what threw up the flag. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, well, can I drink it? And she says, no, you can't drink it. And I'm like, well, can you pour it out? And then I can just keep the water bottle, because I I don't want to pay $7.50 for a bottle of water on the other side of this TSA check line here. I'd rather just take an empty bottle and fill it up at the water fountain, and then I don't have to pay anything. She's all, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, okay, well, how can I keep my water bottle? And she said, well, you'll have to go back through the line and then go back through TSA. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And I asked her straight up, I'm like, we're doing this because, we're afraid that this could have like paint thinner in it or MEK or some kind of chemical that people can use to make a bomb, right? And she said, yeah. I'm like, so if I drink it and then now we have an empty water bottle, we don't have to worry about that, right? She's all, well, yeah, but that goes against the rules. I'm like, okay, well, if you just go pour it out in the trash can right there, I mean, there can't be more than like 50 milliliters of water in there. Like, can you just pour it out and then give me the bottle? No, we can't do that. All right, fuck it, just keep the thing, throw it away. So I didn't get to keep my water bottle. That was one thing. Another asinine thing that I saw this last night at the airport, and it was, okay, I got my TSA pre-check. Okay, I did this before I left on my trip, is you get your TSA pre-check, and at least in America, I don't know how it works with the other ones. I think it's like a global entry pass or something. But you get your TSA pre-check. You get to go in a different line. You don't have to take off your shoes, thank God. You don't even have to take off your watch. You got to put your bag and everything through the X-ray. But you basically just walk in, and I think unless you have a gun on you, it's not going to set off the metal detector. So that's pretty cool. But I made it through. My wife doesn't have that. Normally she can go through the crew line. She just kind of shows her badge, and she can even take water and stuff through there. But this one didn't have one of those. So she had to go through the regular TSA line. So I made it through in about 5 or 10 minutes, and I kind of got to stand in the background and watch this asinine clown show in front of me. This poor girl, I'm going to guess she was probably 14, 15, no more than 16 years old. Okay, just a little girl. Blonde hair, blue eyes, white girl. Comes through. For whatever reason, she set off the metal detector. She probably had a watch on or something that was too much. And because the metal detector went off, they can't logically just say, oh, well, it must be that watch on your hand. They have to completely do a search of her. So she's standing there in her socks. She has yoga pants on, all right? No pockets, just yoga pants. And then she's got an equally tight top on, right, with a sports bra. So there's absolutely nowhere on this girl's body that she could be hiding fucking anything, right? The TSA agent comes around. This girl puts on 2 gloves, and she says, okay, we have to check you to make sure that, that nothing's going off. And she said, well, it was probably my watch, because that's the only thing that she could possibly be wearing that was metal. She's like, yeah, but we still have to check you. So this poor girl, the TSA agent starts searching her, and she might as well be standing there naked, the clothes that she's wearing, you know what I mean? There's nothing there. She starts putting her finger around the waistline, around her underwear line. I don't know what the fuck she was feeling for. And then she feels down her legs, in between her legs, around her bra, outlines around her sports bra, each little, you guys can picture what an underwear line looks like, or what the lines on a sports bra looks like. Outlines all of that, starts playing with her hair, looking throughout her entire hair, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is wrong with this system? Like, how... I think the terrorists really won. I really do. If this is what we've come down to, if we have to basically strip search a 14-year-old girl that is going through... what is wrong with profiling? I really don't... I just don't get it. Why can't... Like, you look at this, and it is a 14-year-old white girl really going to pull a bomb onto a plane wearing yoga pants and a sports bra? I just don't see it. I'd be willing to bet, I guess I can't even really blame the TSA agent, because the way that she was searching this girl, I am almost certain that she's had some kind of training in doing this. You know what I mean? Like, for the World Series of Poker, I'm taking out a 2K bankroll, and I would risk all of that to win about, I think $35 would be a pretty safe bet. I would risk $2,000 to win $35 that this agent has had some kind of training, and this is what she's supposed to do. You know what I mean? I think $30 probably wouldn't quite be enough. 40 would probably be too much as far as the odds makers would go, but I think 35 pretty much nails it, because there is always the oddball chance that this girl is just a pervert and she likes to feel up other 14-year-old girls. But I think $35 would be a pretty safe bet to risk $2,000 that she's been through some kind of training on this. So this is starting from the top up, and someone up top thinks that it's a good idea to randomly pull people aside and strip search them like this. And then not only that, but she gets it looked like a little alcohol wipe, and she starts wiping this girl's arms, her fingers, and then she puts this thing into the computer, I guess, to check for the fucking bomb residue or something. You know, why can't we profile? And I don't think it's racist profiling, because you're taking everything into account. You're taking into account that, okay, their age, what their race is, what they look like, the clothes that they're wearing, everything. You know, I mean, when you walk down the street, if you see I was listening to another podcast, and what the hell did he say? He said, like, if you see a dog walking down the street, you know, you're profiling right there. If it's a little poodle, you're not crossing the street. You're just walking right by, right? But if you see a pit bull, and the guy with the pit bull has, like, maybe he's trying to compensate for something, but instead of a regular leash, it's a chain. Well, at that point, you cross the street. You know what I mean? You're profiling right there. You can do the same shit in a TSA line, right? Profile. We know that a 14-year-old girl is not going to take a bomb on a plane, but if you get a guy that's 35 to 45 years old, and he's got a long beard, and he has a turban on his head, and he looks Middle Eastern, well, that guy you probably want to run through the metal detector. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be some facial recognition software or fingerprint scanning or something, because what we're doing is just asinine. I mean, they can just eye scan me, and they know that I've flown hundreds of times, and there is a 0% chance that I'm taking a bomb on a plane, and they can do the same with you. Why don't they do that? Instead, they have to employ a dozen people when all they really need is probably two. You know, they can start rushing 99 out of 100 people right through without x-raying, without metal detecting, without putting without taking your water bottle. They just eye scan, boom, and you're through. You know, I just don't understand where the system is coming from. I really think the terrorists won. I mean, if anyone really won, they took down 9/11 with fucking box cutters. You know what I'm saying? Like, are we really stopping anything by running us through this mess? I don't know. Okay, I think I'm done. I think I got that off my chest. Let's see, where are we here? I think that's about it for this. Oh, there is one thing I wanted to bring up with you guys. There's this book that I'm reading right now. It's called, take a drink of coffee. I need to calm down a little bit after that TSA thing. I only got one more flight. I got to fly back from here, from Dallas to LAX tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. So hopefully that goes smoothly, and no issues there. But we'll see. After that, then I'm out to the WSOP. But this book is really cool. It's called, it's by Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker, and it's called Money, Master the Game. Kind of a funny title, but it's basically about setting up your retirement. And I think this is probably one of the first times that I've talked about a book that's not a poker book on this podcast, but very, very good book. It will really open your eyes to whether you're ready to, whether you're preparing for retirement or not. And I thought that I had a 457. It's basically a 401k at work. I've got a set amount of money going every 2 weeks into that, and it's part of my retirement. Well, I learned after reading this book that I'm only going to get half of that. Half of that money that's going into my 401k is mine. The other half is going to be the government's. So basically the way this works is if you're setting up a retirement account, and if you don't pay taxes on it before you put it into your retirement account, you're going to have to pay taxes sometime. The government, Uncle Sam is going to get his. So let's say you have $100,000 in that retirement account, you're probably going to see 55 at best. once you pull it out. Once you pull it out, Uncle Sam's going to take his 45 or 50%, and the rest is yours. So what you can do is you can set up another type of account, like a Roth IRA or some other account where you get your paycheck. You've already paid taxes on it. Now you put that money into a retirement account, and all of it is yours instead of only half of that. So that was a big eye-opener for me. I talked to my buddy Joe about that. He has twice as much in his 401k as I do, and he realized over this trip that only half of that is his. So I haven't completely finished the book. I'm about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through, so I haven't set up my accounts yet, but I've stopped putting money into that 401k, and I'm going to start putting it into some different accounts because I don't want to have to pay taxes on half of that when it's done. But anyways, so I'd highly recommend that game or that book, Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins, if you guys haven't done it. And if you have, like I do, a 401k or some type of 457 deferred comp or something like that where you're putting the money in before taxes, yeah, let this be a warning to you. It was a big wake-up call for me, and hopefully you've already got this down and you don't need to worry about it. But that was a big eye-opener for me. So anyhow, I think that's about it. Go check out our website, HeadsUpPoker.Poker. Got some cool videos and stuff up there, and yeah, you have a great week. Thank you for tuning in, and here is your weekly motivational speech.
Every passing minute is another chance to turn it all around.
Never believe a prediction that doesn't empower you. How many predictions have been thrown at you your whole life? If you believe predictions that do not empower you, you will wither away and die. Either physically die or your spirit will die as you just walk around the world like a carcass that is just following the masses. You will be given a lot of titles in your life. You will be told so many different things. You must only listen to that which empowers you.
See, it's not important how long you live. What's important is how you live.
The first thing I believe you got to do to turn yourself around is really take control of your mind. Or specifically, you got to feed and strengthen the mind.
Guess what? You're going to make some mistakes. So the person who's never made a mistake hasn't done anything. If you're going to make some mistakes, if you want to do something out here, you're going to fall flat on your face. You're going to be criticized when you come out into the arena called life. You're going to feel awkward and stupid and dumb sometimes. It goes with the territory. But it's okay.
Take charge of your own life, then walk away from the 95%. Don't go where they go. Don't do what they do. Don't talk like they talk. Develop you a whole new language. Don't use their vocabulary. Don't use their excuses. Once you look back on it, you will never turn back. You'll never go back to the old ways and the old language and the old neglect. Never.